Welcome back, dear friends, on a lovely sunny day. Oh, that reminds me, I must do the towel wash. This is working beautifully. I'm so pleased. When we came down this morning, first thing, it faded up and then wrote today's date, because it waits until it sees movement the first time during the new date after midnight. Really pleased about that. Now, while I'm testing it, it's time to get on with the Chronological Engine. The fun never stops. So here is a beautiful wooden base. I showed how to make these last time, so I didn't make any video of it. But there's a nice solid 12mm thick plywood, which says clock, that's lucky, instructions. And a beading around the edge with some laser cut corner parts, two of which have holes for the keyhole hanging things. Really satisfying to start on making a new machine by having a lovely base. So that's good. And then I made a smaller one. Why did he make a smaller one? I hear you cry. Look, it's smaller, but still perfectly formed. And this one says Revelator, because I've got another order for a climatic revelator. So I'm not starting this yet because the order came in after the previous one. So I'm going to get the Chronological Engine done, and then as and when I'm going to carry on with this one. And then Vertig, I hear you cry. Vertig even. Yes, I answer. This is a clock from IKEA. And in fact, they stopped selling this type of clock, this particular model, some time ago. So I had to go and buy the last 10 or 20 or whatever. Just frustrating, but never mind, because I'd by that time designed the bits, plastic bits that fit against this and all sorts of other bits and pieces. Because, get to the point, this is the perfect way of creating a lovely steampunk gauge clock, whatever else. And it's perfect, as you see, it's got 3 prongs. You can quickly and easily take this bit out. Lovely glass front, nice spun metal or pressed metal side that sprays up a treat. I don't need these bits, so I'll take them out and get back to you. So I'm getting it to raster engrave the really fine type, which it does beautifully like that, and then it'll speed up and cut out all the bits in green, which really does speed it up. All the bits in green are just lots of lines 0.1 millimeters apart, which ends up giving a really good quality, but it's not necessary to do all of this with the raster engraving, just the really fiddly little bits. Here we have it, dismantled. It's annoying they use this hideous sticky tape, but it'll be sitting behind that laser engraving anyway. I've sawn this bit off and those bits with the wonderful vibrating saw. Incredible, you wouldn't have thought it would work because it doesn't move very far. It makes a lot of noise, hence the fact I'm not going to video it, but it just breezes through here. And the lovely thing is the blade is absolutely flat. So if you've got a problem like trimming the bottom of a door off or something and you haven't got room for bits hanging below, this is perfect. In fact, it's got 1,000 uses around the home because you can even get blades to cut out the grout from between tiles if you need to replace grout or take a tile out. It's just amazing. Very handy. Right, I've got the soot off, cleaned most of that nastiness off there. That's going to sit in like that, and you're going to be able to see the edges there, so I want to make sure that they're painted brass. And rather than just spraying this brass, I've got a very thin cut out piece of plastic that I've pushed into the rebate for the glass, because what I found was every time I'd put it together with the glass, because I'd painted up the sides where the glass actually goes, it would scrape little bits off that would then fall in and be completely trapped. Oh, how we laughed. But if I put this in this time, when I spray it, it'll leave a nice clear rebate for the glass panel. Thank you. The 10mm bits are cutting out on the laser cutter on a piece of cardboard, because the light bounces up a little bit and you get a lovely radiused edges underneath, which is lovely, and it also stops the laser going through and setting fire to the machine. The paint is drying, but never a dull moment. Keep me out of mischief. We've got this bit. This bit supports that holds the PIR sensor and a little motor that makes the hammer from the bell ring. And I need to connect some plumbing fittings to it. Obviously this is for electrotrickery, and you just have push fit. I think it's 22mm or something, I can't remember. Here's one of the plumbing fittings, and would you Adam and Eve it, I went and bought one of these. A huge tap. I know it's not huge by some standards, but it's this size. Isn't that lovely? So I've got a couple of things to tap with this for this machine, starting off with this, so we'll get that tapped. It's not quite a tap wrench, in fact it isn't a tap wrench, but it does equally as well. I haven't got anything big as this. There we are. Take that off. And we have threads, into which this will screw. Look at that. How exciting. So once this is sprayed up brass, the copper pipes can come in properly and enter it. And in fact the copper pipes are used to take the wires wherever they need to go. Lovely. And I'll get the hole drilled. I haven't got any instructions for this, and I seem to have lost all the templates. I am positive I had a card template that sat in there with the holes marked on it. I'll have another look. Luckily I found the drawing of the aforementioned jig on my CAD drawing, so I've cut another one out. So let's see whether it fits. Oh, look at that. Isn't that satisfying? It just slots in beautifully and even tells me how big to drill the holes for the motor. Let's get on with that. Now with this new super improved layout with the Arduino Mega, to save having lots of extra interfaces and things, I realised I didn't want to have the screws that fix it onto the front panel, 4 screws, to actually go right through, because they bang into things. So I cut out 4 of these from 10mm acrylic, and I'm going to thread them. And I'm threading them with this gorgeous, glorious drill tap. Oh, since I got these, I haven't looked back. I think I did my neck in. This is brilliant because you just get a rough hole. I've done this one yet? No. You just get a rough hole. Not a bit of rough hole. Bit of isopropyl alcohol. All the proper gripping gear, as you can see. Nice light grip. I'm taking it very easy because I don't want to melt the acrylic, and M3 is a very fine thread. Can I hold it so you can actually see what's happening? Possibly. It drills as it taps, as it does other bits and pieces. Isn't that fantastic? And the fact that the hole is drilled through it by the laser cutter means that, I don't want to go too far, means that it's lined up perfectly. I don't have to worry about going all off at a wonk, because it just goes straight through. Beautiful. There we are. Look at that. Like so. So much easier. Just screwed them in place with small screws and then just stuck the back on, and now they all line up beautifully. Next thing, start putting motors and other exciting parts onto here. It's another day and I'm starving hungry. Turn the dog out. It's only 11:15, but I think I'm going to go and have to have some lunch. During the meanwhile, I've been getting things fixed to this. As you can see, there's a bit of Veriboard. Really good, simple idea. Just glue it down with a bit of super glue somewhere, and then you've got a really good, useful place to fix all of the ground and the positive plus 5V wires. 2 stepper motors, 2 of the stepper motor interface boards. Very, very useful. In fact, look, I've just been going through my notes for this project, and I just found that. I went through them to sort out bits that were actually salient. That's what's inside it. It's brilliant. The really good thing is there's 3 that aren't used, because these stepper motors only need 4 of them. They've got 4 coils in them. There's an extra 3. They even print them out with the holes on them for the last 3, but they don't put pins in them. The fact is that these servo motors are made for all sorts of jobs. So everything from changing settings inside car air conditioning systems, so moving flaps and things like that, to those electric blinds that will have one of these in the end, and that's enough to wind up and down a whole blind. So they make millions and millions of them because they have so many uses around the home, garden and motor vehicles. So they're really reasonably priced, and these are all the same. That they always come with one of these interfaces, so that's nice. All I've been thinking about for the last hour is toasted sandwiches with cheese in. Normally I have soup and a couple of bits of toast. But I love these so much. It's got to be that. Internal photos, you say? Yes, I cry. Here we are. Here's a lovely big picture of one of the early ones to remind me, I'm so pleased I took these, how to connect this arm onto this switch and mount the switch with spacers and things like that. This bit is this bit, the switch that slides up and down with magnets inside to hold it in each position. I thought to make life just that little bit more difficult and challenging this time, I'll just put all the different thicknesses into one box. Oh, that looks exciting. I think I need that. Aha! And I think I need them. Right, got the switch wired up. So there's 1K, 10K, 2K2 and 4K7. I don't know how I work this out, but it seems to work because when it's at the first position it's 0.5 volts. Click it once, 0.8. Then 1.1. You can see it goes up each time, and feeding that into an Arduino analog input, it can then read the input voltage, and it'll just say, okay, well if it's between these two parameters, these two voltages, it's got to be that one, that function. And of course with the Mega I've got 54 or so inputs and things, so I could actually just use a normal rotary switch and wire up individual wires for each function. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I designed that for the Uno with limited pins, it works, so we'll carry on using it. Just cutting out the parts for the switch lever. It's lovely because you can engrave, obviously the other way, you can engrave screw heads and things which look really realistic when they're painted up. Works really well. This is 2mm acrylic, so it's quite quick, 15 millimeters a second at 40% power. Lots of lovely twiddly bits. Here are the cut bits, and I understand where most of them go and what most of them are for, except for this bit. I have absolutely no idea what that's for. I'll keep it in a safe place. The next thing, this is the bit that pushes onto the switch spindle. I need to tap a hole in the side for a grub screw. So that's going to glue onto here, and then the switch is going to push through, and I need to be able to tighten that onto the switch shaft. I've gone right through, because I want it to be a bit meveldeke, and put, this is why I hate this thing, jaws don't come apart properly. It's horrible, vile. I've gone right the way through so that I can tap it and have two grub screws. Why not? Why use one grub screw when you can take two into the Steampunk clock with you? That's what I'm talking about. Two lovely grub screws all fixed together. And I'm going to connect everything that I can up to the Arduino. I like using these right angle headers, I think they're called. They're one of those strange things that it's easy not to know the name of. Everything's got a name. So right angle headers, they're useful because obviously with limited space you don't want all the wires coming spreading out. I'm happily minding my business wiring up connections to this. I've done those and those. And I'm just coming to do this. I look up here. First one, PM LED, so that means LED. That means that because I used to wire them both with one way or another, just to use one output that was either high or low. Didn't need to with the Mega, so stop that. So that meant get rid of all these cleverly little lined up and marked out components because they're not necessary. Lovely. Next. Next. This isn't a time zone clock. I made that for error in the truck driver. 4 more outputs not required. Then we've got the AM LED, fair enough. Then we've got the alarm set LED. Now with the original one and subsequent ones, I had the AM and PM indicators flashing on and off when the alarm was set. Well, they'd pause on whichever AM or PM it was, then they'd go back to the other one, back. which always annoyed me a little bit. And then with Erin's one, I added an LED that just said whether the alarm was set. And I was thinking about that, and I've made an executive decision. And here we have it, dear friends. Look! I've created an alarm set. A small little flickering LED, as always. I tried it with a bigger version, but it just didn't look right. That looks really nice. I'm happy with that. So that's good, because the original one, as I say, flashed on and off. It was always a bit confusing, and I'd like the one, Erin's one, that was just simple, you know. Keep it simple, stupid. So that's nice, but I've just realised, therefore, I don't need this. No alarm. So that is not necessary. That was part of the really complicated way of knowing whether you'd set an alarm or not. Forget that. And then I realised, of course, that means I have to re-engrave all this. I'm going to have to re-engrave this anyway because of that. And I had stupidly, on the drawing, well, I'll show you. I've deleted them all, but there was another ring around here, and I thought that's wrong because that big rivet won't fit in there. What a stupid person to design something like that. And then last night, lying wide awake, wondering about what I'm doing with this machine, I realised I had a really good reason for cutting it bigger, because this is actually rebated. Look, you can see I've been doing some towel washing several days ago before the rain started. Anyhow, it's actually rebated to the depth of this. That's why I had two lines, because if it sat proud, there wasn't enough room for the hour hand to go around without knocking into it. Oh, for some notes. But I'm really pleased, and it's worth re-engraving all this. Solves that problem, and solves this problem. Lovely. I haven't stopped. It's a few days later. Busy as a bee, doing all sorts of things. But, and I've got the videos done for the next video. I must get my finger out and get on with it. But we're getting it together, which is lovely. Thanks very much for watching. Hope to see you next time. As always, if you've got any questions or queries, always only too happy to provide support and assistance. Please leave comments in the comments. And remember to click subscribe and the bell, I believe. Thanks very much again.